Hello and welcome to yet another episode of I Don't Get It, the Pop Culture Get Off My Lawn cast, the show which features the open-minded musings of two early 50s curmudgeons staring down the prospect of entertainment relevance. I'm your co-host, Bill Scurry of America Caesar Enterprises, which is plainly, if anything, it's the company which advertises clumsily in the middle of all of your podcasts all at once, making you hear the same shitty spot 35 times a week across your favorite shows, and tipping you towards never actually buying our products out of spite.
So you are ZipRecruiter, ZBiotics. What are these are the podcasts I listen to.
Yes.
BetterHelp. Yeah. I hear a lot of BetterHelp.
Yeah.
Michael, they can help you with LGBTQ matters.
I'm hearing on the, I think it's the Kara Swisher podcast, I hear Groons. It's like a powdered diet supplement.
No, I used Groons for a while. Groons are gummies, probiotic gummies.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And every day you eat a little packet of these little, they're shaped like bears. They're basically gummy bears, although I'm sure that's officially Haribo owns that name. They are unbelievably tasty. I don't know if they did anything for me, but I really enjoyed them.
So yeah, that's the thing. After a while, I just feel like every time I see a HelloFresh truck outside here in Amsterdam, I want to throw a brick at the top of it just to say, "Fuck you guys, get off my podcast. Just let me be."
What happens sometimes is, and those are the ads, by the way, that are, the hosts are reading. Most of the people we're talking about. A lower level thing, and I'm sure you all know this, is the recorded ads that interrupt. And there were some podcasts there's a podcast series I listened to about I guess it's true crime adjacent. It's about child abuse. I know what's wrong with me. But there are podcasts that are interrupted by recorded ads, and a lot of these shows, the hosts, the creators, have very little control over what
they're just infixed by an automated
right.
Yeah.
And this woman literally said, because a friend of mine did a podcast that had an ad that I'm like, really? Like, you believe in this crap? And he had no control over it. So this woman on this podcast says, like, it's been alerted to me that we've been interrupted by ads for ICE, which I don't know why ICE would spend money on this podcast. But she's like, I just want to say, like, A, we have no control, and B, we do not support what ICE is doing, blah, 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 blah. So that's a good thing about our podcast, friends. You never have to worry about ads for products that annoy you or violate your principles or offend you in any way.
The stupid, angry things that, we say those ourselves. It's us. It's not third-party sponsors.
Everything you hear on this show comes out of our mouths. And whose mouth is this that you're hearing from at the moment? My mouth belongs to Noah Tarnow. I'm the founder and the senior quizmaster of the Big Quiz Thing, the Trivia Game Show Spectacular, and friends. It's a rare occurrence, and I don't get it. The Pop Culture Get Off My Lawn cast history. This is the second episode in a row where the two of us, sports fanatics we are going to talk about a sports-related topic, right?
Okay,
Last week, we talked about Heated Rivalry, the homosexual hockey televisual program. And this week, Bill, we are talking about a player in the sport of tennis.
Not
ping pong played.
Yeah.
Ping pong played while standing on the table.
Yes.
Tennis.
Yes.
With enlarged rackets and a raised net. Bill, tell us about. She's been around for a while, but maybe a little hotter right now. Naomi Osaka.
Yes, and as we know, tennis is sort of a modified form of pickleball, I believe. If you want.
Do you know she's invested in a professional pickleball league?
Smart to do
That's
so.
That's one of her projects.
Smart to do so. This is.
I don't know, man. A pickleball, former topic of ours, really professional. I feel like the whole point of pickleball is that it's not professional. But
pickleball's growing. They're still changing. They're actually bulldozing tennis courts and making pickleball courts. It's still happening apace. Right. Believe it. Anyway.
Well, okay.
Yes, so I pitched Naomi Osaka based on the fact that her drip went viral this week, or at least as much as tennis can, on the eve of they're in the middle of the Australian Open right now, which I believe takes place at Roland Garros in France, but I'm not really sure about that.
It's in Melbourne.
Yeah, Melbourne, France, exactly. I believe you.
Seriously, I preferred Melbourne to Sydney. I thought it was cooler. Melbourne was like the Chicago to. Well, I was about to say the Chicago to. Australia's Sydney's New York, but I prefer New York to Chicago, so never mind. It's just hipper.
The Annapolis
Sydney
of Australia.
felt a little staid to me. Yeah, well, I like Minneapolis too. anyway.
So Naomi Osaka was born October 16th, 1997. She's a Japanese-born professional tennis player. She was ranked as the world's #1 in women's singles by the WTA, World Tennis Association, for 25 entire weeks, starting in January 2019. And she was the first Asian player to hold the top ranking in singles. She's won 7 career singles titles, including 4 majors, 2 Aussie Opens, and 1 US Open. She's the first Japanese player to win a major singles title. So a little bit of biography. Somewhere there's an R in there, but
It's a hard word.
It's a hard word.
It's very difficult.
She was born in Osaka, which is total coincidence, in Japan, to a Haitian-American father and a Japanese mother. And has lived and trained in the United States since the age of 3. At 4, the family moved from Japan to, of all the places, this was one of those grounding details. She grew up in Elmont on Long Island, which is the town that the Belmont racetrack is.
Wait, Belmont racetrack is in Elmont?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that is
what is the connection between?
I don't know.
The racetrack having a B in the town.
I don't really know. It seems ridiculous, but I never really looked into that.
Yeah.
But so that's, I think.
And how far is this from where you grew up?
Oh, it's pretty far. It's about 50 minutes or so from where I grew up on the island. Yeah, this was this right on the Nassau-Queens border. Essentially, I think it's in Nassau County, not in Queens.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's talk about Nowheresville. It's just a place in New York, right? Of all the random places, like if I said Hempstead, it's a place that exists, but you don't necessarily think of it as a place that would have hatched this great tennis player. But sure enough, Naomi Osaka, that's where they moved from Japan to. Talk about also another step down. Moving from Japan to Elmont, New York seems also like talk about culture shock. But anyway, her father, who was the Haitian man, and her mother was the Japanese woman. So her father was inspired by the Williams sisters, as so many people were. And despite having any experience with tennis or being a tennis player, he emulated Richard Williams, who was the sort of Svengali father that hatched Venus and Serena with a very Baroque training regimen and a dedication that they made movies about, movies that have won Oscars. It's apparently in popular culture, it's very important. And in sports, it's also very influential, I assume. So in 2006, they were so serious about this that they moved the 8-year-old to Florida so she could continuously train throughout the year where the weather was good. Now, apparently, Florida is a place where people move from across the country to go learn tennis. It's like a filter system of great coaches, great clinics, and really heated competition who are down there. So she came to prominence at the age of 16 when she defeated former U.S. Open champion Samantha Stosur in her debut, the 2014 Stafford Classic. Anyway, 2 years later, she reached her first final in Tokyo. She entered the top 50 ratings. She broke into the upper echelon in 2018. She won Indian Wells Open. I don't know where that is. I don't know how influential it is. But then she followed it up by beating Serena Williams, who, Noah, I have heard of. That I know. Yes. This is the first bit, other than Elmont, where I plug into it.
Could you, if someone showed you a picture of Venus and Serena Williams, could you tell which one's Venus and which one's Serena?
I think so. They look dissimilar from
I don't think I could.
No? All right, well, anyway.
No.
So that's a big deal. Big stride. They talk about it's almost a metaphor. The changing of the guard from Venus and Serena, who were, I guess, in their late 30s now, early 40s. I mean, but this is at the point with if you were able to knock off Serena Williams, that's a big feather in your cap. So then after winning Australian Open early 2019, Naomi Osaka was the world #1 ranked tennis player, women's tennis player for the first time.
Yes.
More titles.
And became the highest. She had the highest ever annual income of any female athlete.
Any female athlete. How about that?
So, I mean, she did. She doesn't anymore. Ton of endorsements. The list of companies. I mean, Nike's her big one, but I watched, she has her own bowl at Sweet Green. How about that?
I mean, Breitling watches. I don't know if it was Breitling or if it was Rolex or whatever, but yes, I mean, endorsement deals from quality
yes, I believe
brands.
Rolex, Nissan, yeah. Panasonic, PlayStation, Levi's, Airbnb. What Airbnb? What's she's renting out her apartment?
It's the crusty brand pregnancy test.
Yeah. The Naomi Osaka brand, enema.
Yeah. So in 2021, here's where the story starts to get interesting. Again, I'm looking for things that your sportsy people aren't really interesting because there's a sameness to a lot of them. Right. I want weirdness, and here we get it. Not weirdness, but these we get into actual fingerprint of something different.
Personality would be nice from some.
Personality would be nice. So in 2021, she claimed that she was suffering from depression and other issues. She took a publicly scrutinized retirement from the French Open, and she withdrew from Wimbledon, which at that age, like, that's not something apparently that is done or had been done, but it is something now that people do. And, you know, it was controversial at that moment. She took a maternity leave in 2023. I'm sure tennis players had children midstream in their career before. So that's not so unusual. She returned to competition in 2024. And yes, like Noah said, she is one of the world's most marketable athletes. I think that her striking look and her sort of dynamic court presence have something to do with that. It certainly wasn't anything in any interviews I watched with her which make me indicate that she was a lightning in a bottle necessarily as far as a charismatic sports presence. But, you know, we'll get to that eventually. So in 2020, she ranked 8th among athletes in endorsement income. Yes, and the highest ever annual income, as my notes said. We hit that same
of
mark.
A woman.
2020 in Tokyo, she became the first tennis player to light the Olympic torch during the opening ceremony, and she's said to have an aggressive playing style.
Light the cauldron with the torch.
Light the cauldron? Is it a cauldron, not the torch? Okay.
You take the torch, and when you get up there, you light.
I thought the big thing was a torch. I didn't realize it was a cauldron.
The torch is like carried all over the place, run by runners.
The Olympic torch.
And then they give it to someone, and they light the cauldron. The one time I watched that in '96 in Sydney, the big surprise is it was Muhammad Ali.
Yeah. Probably one of
his... And he was not looking good. It was kind of depressing.
Yeah, probably one of his last things, and again, the reason we were talking about this is there's a couple of things that happened last week, and really it had to do with her courtside attire. She was wearing this pretty outre, what Noah termed a jellyfish dress, or at least what
I didn't call it that.
You didn't call it that? I thought you designed it. I thought you were the one that actually measured her.
Yes. Noah Tarnow is a pseudonym for fashion designer Richard I.
The big couturier thing is what his...
I'm Mr. You know me. I'm Mr. Style. Mr.
Noah
Fashion.
Milliner.
I'm so Milan.
Tarnow. Yeah. Anyway, so Noah, what did you get from this topic that you were grousing about?
Some other things here. She's in the Australian Open now. She actually just yesterday, I believe, withdrew. She said she's health. She needs to. She quit in the middle of the tournament. So yeah, the two stories I saw this week, which is why I thought we were talking about her, is one, she came out. There's this new thing now. Tennis people come out like almost runway, the little tunnel where they walk out to the court. And she came out for this match against, I forget her name, Romanian player or something or another.
Sorana Cirstea was her.
No, that was a different. The Cirstea game was.
Oh, that was the yelling game. Okay, that's different.
Right. So she comes out and she's wearing this insane dress that Richard I, W-U-N, designed, and it has a jellyfish look. And I mean, look it up, big flowing, cape and veil.
Pleated trousers. That sort of thing.
She's holding a parasol, which has butterflies on it, which apparently inspired by a photo of her that went viral a few years ago where a butterfly landed on her face. And she got into jellyfish because her daughter, she went on maternity leave. She had a kid with this rapper I'd never heard of. And her daughter is 2, and her daughter has become fascinated with jellyfish. So inspired by that, she had Nike, which she works with, design a jellyfish jacket. And then based on that, she had this guy, Richard I, design this whole ensemble. And she walked out looking amazing and looking notable and all that. Meanwhile, her opponent just walks out in like t-shirt and shorts, carrying a racket, looking pretty underdressed. So that got some buzz, the jellyfish thing. I didn't know this, Bill. Apparently 2 years ago, there was this whole jellyfish trend in fashion. Did you know about that?
No, they left me out of that one,
okay.
Noah.
Yeah, they left me out of that. I was not consulted. And then just the other day, against that name you said, Cirstea, what's her name?
Sorana Cirstea.
Sorana Cirstea. I don't know what country she's from. They had an icy exchange at the end of the game. Their handshake, the traditional handshake between players, was exceptionally brief. And then they asked at a press conference, they asked Osaka, like, what was that about? And she's like, well, apparently she was upset by me yelling, come on, during the game. And all the reporters went, ooh, and she had to apologize. I still don't know exactly what happened there. So what do I think of all this? What do I think of Naomi Osaka? Especially be a curmudgeon here. I guess I want to care about this woman, because she has an interesting background. She's half Haitian American, half Japanese. She seems to be using her fame in a semi-responsible way. She's been very much left-wing activist, using her fame for good. I mean, the sponsorships, you could say that's a little crass, but hey, if I were in her position, I'd do a lot of that too. And I respect tennis players. They work very hard. I saw in the movie King Richard. Tennis players are not, that is not an easy job. But as I've documented on the show a million times, I don't care about sports. And as I've documented on the show almost as many times, I don't care about fashion. Sports is just so pedestrian and so overrated and self-centered 95% of the time. I mean, I was doing some research for a job this week. I had to write some stuff about football, trivia questions about football. And I watched some clips of some of the shows on Fox Sports. And my God, like the endless sports commentary, hours and hours of talking about nothing, basically talking about the insane intricacies of children playing a game.
And they call us nerds for knowing the lineup of the Avengers in the 90s. You know what I mean? No,
exactly. It's so, and fashion is overrated and icky. The throwing shade thing, people are like, oh my God, she threw shade at Sarana Sashtia, and that she's sassy and all that. Like, it seemed like nothing. Like, if you're going to be in a heated tennis match at the Australian Open, I'm surprised there isn't more incidents of people getting testy with each other. I mean, we talked about hockey last week. I was briefly into hockey. Hockey had fights every game. So one icy exchange between two people is a headline story.
Professional tennis doesn't have the category of goon as one of their
maybe that's why I liked hockey better.
Yeah.
It's just like, again, it's the media up its own ass, like making such a big deal out of nothing. And in terms of the fashion thing, I mean, I guess the dress was interesting looking. It was like a Victorian era acid trip kind of thing. But the discourse is really pathetic and empty. And I'm going to quote for you. I watched a clip of Eurosport Tennis, the British network that covers sports, and their sub network on tennis, Eurosport Tennis. And this is, I guess, live as they were watching her walk out in the dress. And this is, I am quoting, I'm not leaving anything out. I am quoting the three people watching it. First impressions, it's she's making a statement, isn't she? Wow. That's all you have to say? I am speechless. I've never seen anything quite like it. That's the ultimate walk-on, isn't it? I love it. More laughter. The only thing I left out was pauses. I mean,
I appreciate you leaving the pauses out.
There's nothing here. I have no problem with Naomi Osaka. And I like that she cares for her mental health and isn't afraid to admit that. And I like that she, at the 2020 Olympics, when people started to wear masks, her masks had messages on it that I basically agree with, political messages. She's not afraid of that. But I just don't see what there is to care about here.
Well, okay. The thing is, I think I knew the name before I decided to look into this and pitch it as a topic. And granted, it's not the weightiest thing we ever talked about. But the thing is, the drip of the
as opposed to all the weighty things we normally talk about.
The huge sourdough starters and all the world beaters of the world. The dress thing was definitely intriguing. That's the kind of thing that's, again, that was a visual. It helps that there's a visual, and she definitely had a striking image this week. That is, for lack of a better term, I thought it was a little bit of brass balls. That combined with the sort of iciness inside the game that actually, once I looked at that, I saw there was, I thought the headline was going to be the dress. And it's like, no, when I started doing research, the headline was the sort of intra-match squabble or whatever you want to call it. Now, the thing is, it's like, I don't want to blow this out of proportion. What happened during the game wasn't some sort of meltdown. It wasn't a racket breaking. It wasn't anything like that. Is what to pump herself up, she sort of prowls the back line saying, come on, come on. And the thing is, I think her opponent took it to be goading. Her opponent just sort of asked the line judge at that point, like, are you just going to let that happen? So we can just yell what we want. And the line judge was...
I mean, but my attitude, man, is, look, I don't know tennis, but you're in the big leagues. Suck it up. People are going to get heated. How does this not happen every day?
You know what? I don't watch tennis, so I don't know. But apparently,
it's not like she jumped over the net and started choking her.
That's what I'm saying. It was like Homer choking Bart with the tongue sticking out and everything like that. Yeah. So like watching her kind of not be chastised necessarily, but like taken to task by a very staid sports news apparatus, the tennis media machine, if you want to call it that. I think I'll agree with you. That stuff sort of reinforced my bias against tennis culture, which to me, if it looks like it's trying to like hold on to the Marquess of Queensborough rules, I would believe it if you said that to me. If that's their whole thing in terms of sportsmanship, is that you can't even say, come on, while sort of like patting your thigh, walking the back line. What are we doing here? I don't pay attention to tennis other than sort of just noticing figures like, here's the thing. I'm being biased here, but the thing is we talked about Serena Williams. That was a tennis topic I guess we did 3 or 4 years ago because Serena Williams had made some big hay. Coco Gauff right now I think is one of the top rated tennis players in the world, and she's another.
And you got them mixed up.
Did. I was. She's younger. I think Naomi Osaka is 28 or so, and Coco Gauff I think is 21. She's just like sort of. But it's like they're a different looking tennis player. Obviously, I'm describing black women, and the thing is they don't look like the usual Steffi's Graf and Chris's Everett Lloyd that we kind of grew up with. I mean, again, I don't.
But it seems to me in the Serena and Venus era, black woman is the stereotype or the generic version, the generic model of female sports. Female tennis hero.
That's an amazing flip, considering that's based on mastery. Yes. That's based on sort of rip that they put through the.
Black people seem to dominate a lot of other pro sports at the highest level.
Or it says that they were, you're talking about like either black people weren't necessarily invited to tennis, or made it seem like that, much like golf before Tiger Woods got there. It's like, you're sure you want to do this? You want to wear the John Daly pants and walk around with a guy named. Jack Nicklaus, or, is it really what you sure you want to do that? It's like, well, once they started doing it, it was this sort of mastery. Again, the Williams sisters, that's a name that is like one of those great definable American brands of sports mastery. I don't know. Maybe it's like a Wayne Gretzky type thing where that's how good they were, but I don't know. And even when I first started watching black men appear with semi-regularity in the NHL, talk about through the course of the early 90s to the late 90s, is when there were not just black jobbers, guys who were playing the back line, but actual definable elite players who were black men, black Canadians. That's like, that caused a lot of stir inside the sport. And it's like, that was just me as a viewer. And imagine, what is it like for these guys to actually play fucking Boston, where the Boston Bruins crowd threw bananas on the ice at Anson Carter in like, I think it was 2004.
Really? In 2004, they threw bananas on the ice.
He was playing for the Rangers. Anson Carter was a hell
shit.
Dude, that's what happened in fucking Boston.
There are a lot of I love Boston, but they got their share of racists there.
I get that emotions were very high for her, and I also want to apologize. I think like the first couple things that I said on the court was disrespectful, and I don't like disrespecting people. That's not what I do.
You bring up a topic. You're sort of saying like she's boring. We're both saying she's kind of boring and colorless. There's not that much here. The fuss she stirs up, we don't see the fuss. So, I mean, it's a mystery. Why do people care? Why is she such a big star? I mean, yes, she's good at her job, but is that it? I mean, why is she such a marketable athlete?
I would push back on the colorless part, and I'm not just saying that, it's a racial pun or anything like that. But
I'm not. Come on.
No, I hear you. No, I'm saying I think she has color. I think the color is in her presentation. The color is in the fact that she has a loud visual image. The color is in the fact that, again, yes, it's not the most earth-shattering thing in the world or iconoclastic thing that there's a black woman, or at least a biracial woman who's not merely white and black and white. She's Japanese and Haitian American, and so it is she looks different from other people for sure, even amongst other black tennis players, if you want to call it that. But the thing is that she's one of the most lucrative brand ambassadors in sport. Shoot me for saying those words. Shoot either of us for having to say those words on a podcast. So I mean, she commands a big presence. All the wristwatch and the sneaker deals are predicated on her actually being an elite player. I'll bring back, say, Anna Kournikova, who was all over the place, I guess about 20 years ago. She had a shitload of endorsement deals. She was all over things. She was, Skechers sneakers, but she was just not an elite level player. I think people wanted an attractive little tiny Russian, curvy little girl with an athletic build to be the picture of tennis. And that's what it looked like. But now it's different because it's like this woman blasts the fucking ball. So she's got the numbers. I mean, her professional career is, cannot be understated in terms of how much he's sort of ruled tennis. It's a big deal. You got to pay attention to her. If you care about tennis, apparently she got the numbers and the swaggers to back up her profile. And I think that, the idea of the breaks that she took, the big tournaments that she dropped out on account of anxiety and depression, like that is obviously not something that Rod Laver would have done in 1967. Like in terms of the old model of sports players, the Pete's Sampras and the Jimmys Connors and those guys, but Simone Biles, I thought of it earlier, was Simone Biles like dropped out of things on account of like she was being dogged by racists. She was filled with a lot of anguish and a lot of anxiety over the fact that it's like, but athletes, elite athletes at the top there didn't used to like get out of the game for a while because they were feeling depressed, because they were feeling anxious. I'm sure they felt anxious and depressed, but there wasn't that freedom. The fact that sports are kind of being rephrased in the words and practice of a newer generation of viewer and player. I mean, that to me that seems like another epochal shift we're watching. And I think Naomi Osaka has something to do with that.
Sure. She's good at her job. And despite me saying she's colorless, she adds some her multiracialness is, it might be some of the Tiger Woods thing. There's a story there. This is why I, want to like her, because she is not your typical boring person. I mean, presumably she has a story. She's an immigrant. This thing about her dad was not Richard Williams was a tennis player, right?
Yeah.
He was a frustrated tennis player.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what happens to a lot of elite athletes. They get where they are because their parents, didn't quite make it.
And they impel these young children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's that interesting line going back to our topic last week in Heated Rivalry, where Shane, who, in the show is one of the top professional hockey players, said his dad played hockey for McGill. And McGill is arguably the most prestigious college in Canada, university in Canada. So playing hockey for McGill is, you're an above average hockey player, right? So it makes sense that you get your kid into hockey early and, he'd find his potential and be able to take advantage of it. So I think it's a cool story that her dad, this Haitian guy living in Long Island who had, lived in Japan for years and married a Japanese woman, trains. And by the way, her sister was also a pro tennis player for a while.
That's right. I left that
up. Still is.
Yeah.
So, apparently there's a story there. I don't know if Osaka has the, I kind of felt this way about Tiger Woods. I don't know if Osaka really has the personality to be the interesting story beyond on paper, but theoretically there's a tale to tell here. But I don't think there's a lot of reason why people like this, which is, I'm going back to what I said before about my problems with sports and fashion, is I think these things are either very pedestrian or very, icky, and people make a big deal about it. And I have to wonder if lionizing Naomi Osaka, and frankly lionizing a lot of, it's fine to lionize someone who's at the top of their game. It's especially tennis. It's an accomplishment. I don't like calling these people heroes, but they're definitely impressive, right? And in some ways inspiring. But I think making characters out of them, having them sponsor a million things, giving them a bowl at Sweet Green and whatnot, I think there's some element of the sunk cost fallacy here. People have invested so much into sports, fashion, things like that they have to invest a lot, not literally money, although in some cases, yes, but emotionally into these essentially boring people because they need to justify why these things have become the centers of their lives.
This is live pictures. Wow, that is... I was going to ask you about Katie Bolter, but I think we have to really soak in this moment. It's a vibe. She does help design her walk-on outfits. The whole look has been thought out. It's often inspired by... Can she even see in that? I'm not sure.
Noah, would you have liked tennis as a skinny little kid with knock knees?
Look, I barely heard of this woman before you suggested this topic. I knew she was a tennis player. I think I knew she was half black, half Asian, and that was it. If you had asked me who's the top female tennis player in the world, I would have assumed it's still Venus and or Serena. They still play, though. They're not retired, are they?
Is that one guy, Venus and or Serena?
Yeah. Do they still play?
That's a good question. I think they're at the end of their... If they're playing, it's like maybe they're playing mixed doubles and things like that. I don't think they can command the heat anymore of singles.
They only come out for WrestleMania each year. Yeah, I think I knew that about her. And if I were a young man, I wouldn't care. I never cared about tennis. I remember being a little kid and like thinking I would enjoy playing tennis. And then when my parents sent me to sports camp and I took one tennis class and I'm like, this sucks. Although I felt that way about every sport.
You were correct when you thought that.
I don't know. My nephews are really into tennis, but their dad's into tennis. So I see the appeal of it, but like, I don't know. Anyway, there's no... Age has nothing to do with my lack of interest in this.
No, the tennis is a giant embargo for me anyway. I have a blockage, like you said, a blockage about pro sports. You know, the thing isn't...
You've been more a sports guy than me over the years.
I was more hockey-ish about it. And the thing is, it's like I have used or at least inquired about sports mostly also as a lingua franca among men, which is come in handy in some of the jobs I had at the newspaper and things like that.
You know, I've always been jealous of guys who could do that. My gaps in masculinity are tied in with that because I can't just talk about sports.
Tennis itself, man. I know that some sports are really dynamic, but it's like tennis has one motion, and I just don't think rallying, when the people rally the ball back and forth, to me, that is a particular kiss of death. I just don't see anything other than back and forth, pause for 12 minutes, back and forth, so whatever. It missed me with that. I don't care. So the thing is, it's like, I might have investigated her public profile as a social commodity, because again, this is somebody who's being positioned as a pop culture person. No, if we had MTV now, like we did in the 90s, she would have been one of them rock and jock softball games. You know, when there was... I don't
remember that. They did softball games on MTV?
Or baseball. Yeah, sure. They would have like a mixture of like MC Hammer and Gwen Stefani and like Mark McGuire would come out, and it was just like a screwball game. It was like almost like the Cannonball Run, where it was they play
athletes and rock stars playing sports against.
Yeah, I'm saying, but it was it was an equalizer of like putting all these people it was the guy from fucking Fred Durst next to Sammy Sosa or something weird like that, right? It was just it was the melange of popular culture. You might have had that today, or God knows, it's like Naomi Osaka could host SNL sometime later in the year for all we know.
Oh, they do, but they've always done. She might. They've always.
Yeah,
done
that's what I'm saying. Right.
SNL, and it always sucks. Remember the Wayne Gretzky episode?
It was awful. It was pretty bad.
During our heyday of SNL, and we watched every week, Wayne Gretzky hosted it. It was so embarrassing.
But you would need that level of pop culture miscegenation for me to kind of get into this again. Now, here, let me call back. All right, so if you said tennis to me when we're younger, my impression is John McEnroe, right? Why is John McEnroe my impression? Because he was kind of famous for being a New York douchebag on the court, right? He was a loud player. He was
also awesome, right? Like he was good. Of the top players.
Yeah, he was good. But
I feel like that's why people love Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, because
a colorful personality, but actually could play the game.
McEnroe
I respect that.
Look, there's a guy was Michael Chang, I think, was a player in the early 90s who was I think he was a California guy, and he was so vanilla and so quiet, so professional and calculated. He was like a surgeon, and he was unbeatable. But it's like he was also boring as shit. There was nothing to him. It's like John McEnroe spit roofing nails out. He was just, like he was a contrast to Jimmy Connors and all the rest of these sort of waspy dudes who just ran around. And that's why it's like, well, douchebag on the court, great player at the same time. That's the element of fire. I would have tuned in. I would know whether I wanted to or not that this was happening if you had someone like John McEnroe who pressed himself into public. But the thing is that the elements of Naomi Osaka's game to me are kind of utterly uninteresting. And and she doesn't present herself so much in popular culture yet. But again, put her on SNL and maybe I could see it's like, oh, this is that person who hosted SNL. I don't really know what they do, but I kind of generally know the draft. That would be different, but we don't have that to fall back on.
Sorana Cirstea is a tough competitor. She came to play tonight. What did it take to get through that one?
Apparently a lot of come-ons that she was angry about, but whatever.
Is there any way that the rise of Naomi Osaka is a sign of the apocalypse?
Well, I don't know how you would ascribe this to that or that to this, but unless you're going back to the sort of genial niceties of tennis, the kind of like sculpted image and the kind of adherence to the on-court comportment and the gentlemanly rules of line judges. then maybe the fact that she, kind of like yelled out, come on, and the person across took it personally, like she was being hectored. It wasn't just a matter of like, oh, that's a loud expurgation, but she thought it was like, I am being challenged. I'm being threatened and intimidated.
Who cares if she was?
I'm
playing in the Australian Open. Suck it up.
I'm not arguing that with you.
I'm not arguing with you.
I know he can get the job, but can he do the job?
Can he do the job? If you get that movie quote, hats off to you, friends.
The thing is, there's so many clips. If you look, you don't have to do this, but I did. If you look on YouTube, there are many.
Don't do this, but if you can.
There are many clips of interviews where someone with a British accent is asking, or maybe an Aussie accent, they're asking Naomi Osaka, "Is there anything you'd like to say to Sorana Cestia?" As if to say, don't you think you owe this poor Czech lady or the Slovak lady an apology for the fact that you ran over the court, right, choked her, and you rubbed her cheeks with sandpaper? Honestly, you might think that her yelling "come on" was the equivalent of the Russian tanks rolling over the Dnipro River. But it's like that. I don't live in that world. I don't live in that world where this is a sign of the apocalypse. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm because I didn't find much to talk about here. I ballooned this much like a jellyfish, flagellating its limbs through the ocean. I've ballooned this into a way to talk about my general feelings about sports and fashion, and I want to say that the bread and circuses, our obsession with these very pedestrian things has led us down the path to oblivion that we are on. If
it's bread, I'm sorry, it's fucking matzo because it's pretty thin and unleavened for the taste experience of a lifetime. Yeah.
Matzo's good with cream cheese on it. But I'm a hypocrite because I'm obsessed with plenty of, unsubstantial things in my life, just not sports and not. But no, my problem with sports and fashion is that people make too big a deal out of it. And yes, sports has become the lingua franca of men. And yes, our tax money pays for sports. I'm beyond insulted about that. And these teams that, insist, I say this all the time, insist on fanatic loyalty and people buy all their merch and all that. And then like, fuck you. Another city's giving us more money. We have no loyalty to you. And in fashion, I just, the sweatshop thing plays into the fashion thing too. But again, I'm a bit of a hypocrite. Is it fair to put all this at the feet of Naomi Osaka? No, because like I said, she seems to have worked very hard for it. I like the jellyfish dress, maybe it's good that she's shouting, come on, because, these people should put a little fire into what they do.
I agree.
And maybe it's the fault of Sorania Hysteria or whatever her name is. Sorania Hysteria.
Not going to work here anymore anyway.
Yeah. Pyromania Hysteria that, they can't handle this stuff. Although, again, I don't want to blame her. It's the media's like, ooh, there's a battle. And that woman said, like, I don't really care.
Those two words didn't sit well for Naomi Osaka's opponent, Sorana Cristea, at the Australian Open.
Noah, let's close the son of a bitch out with jealousy and the Felonian scale. How do you envy our subject this week?
I mean, absolutely. I wish I was world famous for what I do and being considered one of the best. And I crave attention. And I wish I had a bowl at Sweet Green. I don't know why I keep putting, because that's the only thing she sponsors that I'm a customer of.
Let me pitch on this. If you want to tell me, like if you, in fact, you design a bowl at Sweet Green, me and you will refer to that as the Noah Tarnow bowl. Right. How about that?
Do you remember in New York, the chain Lenny's Sandwiches?
Yeah, I think they're still around. There's one or two still there, I think.
I think it's called Lenwich now.
Yes, yeah.
So when I worked at Time Out New York, we would order lunch from Lenny's quite a bit. And I designed a sandwich.
Wow, big balls in the house. How about this, man?
I called it the Quizmaster.
Wow.
And I even think we wrote a Time Out New York on our blog. We wrote an article about it. And it was cracked pepper turkey, brie cheese, honey mustard, and lettuce on a roll. And it was fucking delicious. So there you go. Yeah, I mean, I'm jealous of famous people because I crave attention. And I'm jealous of her because she's at the top of her game. And I'm not jealous of people whose lives are having to pick apart the minutia of the sports and fashion worlds because, I don't know. I mean, I guess they're having fun. And again, I'm a hypocrite A job where you have to pick apart minutia. How awful. But yeah, I'm only jealous of Naomi Osaka the way I'm jealous of most people, which is not as much as I used to be.
See?
So that's healthy.
We're learning. Well, I wish
as I get older and, as I get more set in my ways, I guess.
But like you, I wish I was fractionally good at anything the way Osaka is at tennis, just strictly as an athlete, strictly as somebody who trains her body. Me, who blunders around banging myself on doorways and fucking low arches and not knowing where my body is in space and tripping over my own fucking shoes with lack of balance. And it's so antonymical that are we humans? Are we the same species? I honestly don't know. I might as well be a sea cucumber or some species of mycology.
A jellyfish.
A jellyfish. Jellyfish. I think
relevant.
A jellyfish are less insensate than I am. I'm pretty sure. But that there's the fact that they're excellent, but then the idea that there's this discipline that was bred into her early, that she was trained from before she was probably 10 years old to be disciplined enough to know that. Yeah, it's crazy. Anyway. Oh, and the drip.
It's admirable in a way. No, I think it's admirable.
I like the drip. The drip is something I like to think I have. I'm not wearing a jellyfish blazer or a jellyfish series of trousers or anything like that, but it's like I appreciate someone who telegraphs taste and point of view through clothing. And that's something that I think I have. You know what? You might confuse the two of us one day just based on that aspect. But so Noah, where would you rank this in our topics?
I mean, it's just not really a lot of creativity here, but I took Serena Williams, right? Tennis, add the fashion thing. I multiplied it by the Met Ball. And then I decided I need to divide all of this by something stupid and pointless and unimportant. So I divide it by 1/8 of 6'7".
Yeah.
6'7".
Still appearing in culture for some reason.
Is it? I wrote, I'm glad because I told you I wrote a really good trivia question about 6'7". I want to keep using it.
Yeah.
And then I add 7.55554.
Uh-huh.
And you arrive at Naomi Osaka.
I liked how you use 6'7", but not as digits. That's quite an advanced class.
Well, it's not about digits, is it?
No,
I
know,
about
but
anything.
It's like this 6'7", that was taken over by Delta Sigma, which in fact does represent mathematically. The delta is the change.
Is that still happen? Is Delta Sigma? That's become the big thing now.
No, it's not.
Because I knew Sigma was one of those things.
I did not know that.
Okay.
So this to me is like Olivia Rodrigo in that you have a practitioner of an arcane art beloved by fans who identify with her, love the output. But the intricacies of what each of them does is generally lost to me. Although Olivia Rodrigo is speaking English words into songs, and I think it's easier to buy into than, say, watching tennis. But the intricacies of the art, it's generally of a tone where that is lost to me. Like I can't quite pull into the art of what they do the way the most ardent fans are. That's where I fall with it. So I think that's it. No, I ran out of notes. I'm just in white space on my document.
We're done.
Oh, man,
we will never think about Naomi Osaka again. No, I don't want to be too harsh. I wish her well. She's talented. She doesn't seem like a bad person. Like I said, she dropped out of the Australian Open to take care of her health. She has a 2-year-old child. I even read this. She and that rapper who had the baby, they broke up, but they have nothing but kind words for each other. I mean, who knows what it's really like behind the scenes, but I don't want to hate on people who aren't part of the problem here.
Flash forward to the Dumois note, blind item about Noah Tarnow was seen out in public, squiring a young lady, looks like a tennis player, that kind of thing. All right, this takes us to the end of the episode, Noah. So what we're going to do is read the closer here. We're going to text the boilerplate. If you want to find past episodes of the show, it's on Spotify. It's on Apple Podcasts. It's on SoundCloud. Sad Clown. It's on Google Play.
It's on Sad Clown. It's on the Pagliacci network.
One of the particular, the Piero, one of the particular clown models from old Italian art. So skeet to us at noahandbillshow.bsky.social. Write to us, noahandbilldon'tget@gmail.com. Reviews are happy and good loving correspondences with the fan. We'd love to see them if you're so inclined to do so. At billscurry.bsky.social on Blue Sky, at William Scurry on Twitter, at William Scurry on Instagram, all the socials. Of course, youtube.com/amcaesar. is the video home of this podcast, and that's where you can find the work that I do for myself and for such clients as Atomic A with the pop culture output that we put out there. And Noah does a lot of stuff in the world, and this is how you get to him.
You get to me via bigquizthing.com. The Big Quiz Thing, America's finest source of custom and private live trivia events nationwide, worldwide. March 2nd, back in New York for a big little reunion show at the Slipper Room where it all started.
A rich little reunion show.
Yep, my sidekick EDP, my DJ GB, Rare opening the public game. Tickets on sale now at bigquizthing.com. And I'm really excited, Bill. 2 weeks from today, I have my annual virtual Carleton College alumni trivia event. I, of course, am one of the alumni.
Open to the public.
Yep, and, well, not open to the public, but if you went to Carleton, it's open to you. And, Carleton College in Minnesota, so feels like a good moment for us to get together and share a little knowledge and share a little love and, a couple hours to have some laughs. Remember college, remember the good times, and support each other. So learn all about it. Get your own custom trivia spectacular, the finest in the business, at bigquizthing.com. And I am occasionally on Instagram at the Noah Tarnow.
All right, everybody, so until the next episode where I show up in a squid pantsuit and Noah has a sea anemone dress, we don't get it.
A production of American Caesar Enterprises 2026.